Derek, with it's funny because I was going to want to dive into, okay, Spotify. All right, now let's talk about YouTube. Now let's talk about, and that's not the way to go. So because what Mike's saying, I think really kind of nails it. With your clients, there are some bands that seem to have really embraced the music video more than others, perhaps. You know, like Dance Gavin Dance has got amazing, elaborate, at least by appearances, expensive looking videos. You know, and there's guys like Oliver Tree who've got tens of millions, hundreds of millions of views for for his very expensive videos. What is the sort of the balance there between a budget for a music video versus when you might not yet have those views?
Well,
Does it correlate?
well, listen, I mean, you raised a very interesting point that I could just give you in terms of Dance Gavin Dance, and I think this is actually just indicative of what's going on in the world right now. They do have some very solidly budgeted videos that are very visual, and they're great. They're excellent videos. But due to what we're dealing with right now, they have an album coming out, and they still had a need to make some videos to further promote songs. And coincidentally, a video that we just put out that's having a really high amount of views and doing quite well is that we were able to get fan submitted videos of them following a theme of keeping clean, keeping hygienic. And we had hundreds and hundreds of submissions. The label went through and edited them all down and got the fans to sign the waivers so that we could legally put them out. There was no issues. And we put that video out, I believe it was last week or close enough to it. And that's getting just as good as a response, in terms of viewers and people getting excited about it. And that was done with a much more minimal budget than a higher end budget video. So maybe that's to speak for the times that are going on right now, and that's the best that we could do because we were not able to do a full production. That's not to say we would stop doing full production videos, but it's just interesting to see right now, given the circumstances that we're under and the resources that we had, we were able to put together something really cool and unique and creative, and it reacted very well.
Eddie, with the videos, either on YouTube, music videos, or just video in general as a medium, how do you need to align it with everything else inside the marketing strategy for an artist?
I think the important part about videos today, because the only platform for it to go on is YouTube or the internet or whatever it is. There's no MTV anymore or VH1. So these things have really quick burns. And I think if you don't hit it at the right moment, you put it out too soon, you lose your biggest asset. You lose your biggest tool to market the record, to market the band. And a lot of times I see artists go day in at the same time as the song coming out. And I don't think that gives them, the fan base enough time to marinate with the song and learn it and really become familiar. That's why I like to space it out. And I think when you space it out and the fan base has already consumed the song and they get it, watching the video is just that much better.
And how about, what's the difference between marketing the video versus marketing the album that the video is supposed to be marketing for? You get my question there?
I think they all fit into the same packaging, right? You're ultimately marketing a video is the same, in my opinion, it's similar to marketing. You're streaming on Spotify, you're streaming on Apple, or any other DSP, because it all counts towards the consumption number. So I look at a video the same way I would a Spotify playlist or a stream or anything that way. And then, tying back into the album launch, of course you want the video to fit the aesthetic of the album and the band.
Yeah. Mike, is live streaming during the lockdown, is that working?
Well, I can't tell you. I don't have anybody who's live streaming. Frankly, we've opted, with Ice Nine Kills to kind of do the slower, longer play. We've got some initiatives that we've been working on and some content that we've been sitting on. So it hasn't been a priority. I've seen some artists really seem to capitalize on it. I think, the question is for everybody is how are the artists going to make money? So I've watched, certain bands start to put it behind a paywall, whether that's a Patreon or something else. And, I think every action is intended to get attention. And, live streaming briefs well, but when everybody's doing it and you just go back into the competitive phase of, everything else, like, you go to Spotify, and if you're a no-name artist or you're an artist without much of a jumping off point, it's really hard to get attention. It's sort of the same thing here with live streaming. So, what we're concentrating on doing is, timing it so it's got the most impact, not only to serve our fans who are patiently waiting, but also to potentially, help us with the stream of revenue that's been lost by touring.
Tim, I saw you nodding while Mike is saying about making money. Is it making money in 2020, or is it about making money in 2021?
I think it's a combination of both. We just had a pretty established artist do a live stream behind a paywall, and it was very, very successful. We were really happy with the performance, but it's an artist on its 6th album. That's a little different than a new artist who is developing. I would say for developing artists, for new artists, you can go on Instagram and do a guitar lesson. We're having another band doing a Netflix watch party where they're just watching a movie with their fans. I think this is the challenge right now, is staying connected with your fans when you can't tour. And if I'm a band like the one I talked about, there's opportunities for them. They should be seeking those out, and I'm sure they are. For the newer bands, I think it is getting in the faces of the fans you have. Tell them to share, play my guitar lick, share this with somebody. There's no right answer right now, but I think each band is going to try and find its way, and it's a really tough period, I think.
Absolutely. Derek, it seems like probably your acts are on all different stages of album cycles, etc., where some of your artists, perhaps this couldn't be timed better, and others it couldn't be timed worse, like Dance Gavin Dance. What are you communicating with them? What are you telling them between the artists who it times well for those who don't?
Well, look, we had no control over any of this, but yes, it was some bad timing for sure. But in terms of those artists that do have albums coming out in the very immediate future, we made the decision to. Can I curse on this? I guess sorry.
Absolutely.
We made the decision to just be like, fuck it, we're going forward and we're going to release these albums. These are what the fans are waiting for. A huge component of the physical part and the touring part are completely taking out. Everybody recognizes that. And we're coming up with all the best ways possible that we can still have a successful release. And this is for a few artists that I have that will definitely be putting albums out when the possibility of retail and touring are not in the mix at all. And we feel it's a better service to the fans to have the music come out. They're still going to listen to it. It's probably going to be on different ways that we anticipated. So that's every band that I work with that has material that's supposed to come out during this shutdown. They're still moving forward with it. As far as artists that didn't have releases planned, at least now for this period, however long that may be, it's a great time for them to continue to write, record. There's no big pressure on them. The touring again is taken out of the equation. I think after all this is said and done, there's going to be a lot of great music coming out for a lot of people, a lot of bands. It's going to be fantastic. And I think the live touring is going to be that much more robust. I mean, I do think there's going to be a big bottleneck, and it's going to be kind of like, shit, where do we go? There's shows every night, but it's going to eventually, unbottle. And I really think a lot of people are going to take live music for granted, like they may have before.
I think it might change. I think it might change some consumption habits too. Because you can't go to a store. I think it's going to actually help grow streaming too now.
No, I agree with that. I think I was more talking about like once this is over, like when people are having such a dire outlook. I think once this is over and cleared, I personally think the music business is going to come back that much more stronger. But for right now, I agree with you also. It is there's going to be a equal amount of consumption. It's just different how it's going to be consumed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Tim, anything different that you're communicating to your acts about, depending on whether they're mid-album cycle or outside of album cycle right now?
I think we're trying to create more content. Like that's been the one thing we're trying to, especially if we're heading towards a release, we're trying to, this is the time for you to go and record your drum lessons and record your guitar lessons. And are you a gamer? Make your Twitch channel now while you're home. Like let's get everything either set up, and for some artists it's a time to take a breath and also figure out, is there a way we could be more effective? So it depends on the artist, but yeah, we're trying to take this time to get our ducks in a row in a lot of places where it was nonstop.
Eddie, did this lockdown really change things up for you and your clients, or are you able to skate through this relatively okay?
It changed it up a great deal, and it made it a lot more interesting. A lot of our clients relied heavily on touring, and that was a big marketing driver. And now that that's gone, it's giving us the freedom to be more creative with other marketing drivers that they may have said no to had they just been on the road doing the typical, album cycle.
Awesome. Mike, I got to leave you with some final thoughts on that. Anything you want to add to as far as like the value of marketing? Perhaps everybody's recognizing it a little bit more when touring has gone away.
I mean, I think for me, like the takeaway really is, everybody, as Derek pointed out, this is happening to everybody at the same time. So no matter what is occurring, I mean, this does allow us to sort of take these fresh looks at things. As Tim said, either guys get a breather, or as Eddie said, people, they're having to pivot and do things that they may not have traditionally done. I think Tim and Derek both said that as well. But, to me, like the foundation of what we try to do with artists and marketing is all the same. It's just that we are now strategizing for, all online as opposed to the old mix, which was predominantly touring. So, inevitably, those of us on this call will hopefully be around for another couple decades doing this. We'll see other further changes, but I think what makes these guys successful is, they've laid the foundation. They know how to get the most out of any situation by focusing on the fundamentals inherent to that situation. So, I mean, it's a really exciting time, in all honesty. And I think most of us on this call, are thriving, because, as I said previously, it's like we didn't have the chance to ever have the artist stop. The engine is, the car stopped, it's up on blocks, and we're looking under it saying, what parts can we replace? What parts can we make better? Understanding that eventually the race is going to continue and we'll get the car back out there, and, presumably it'll just be better, and we'll have a better, those of us that are spending the time and focusing on this, and the developing artists out there, those who are really using this time as a way to work on some of these fundamentals, they're just going to be in a great spot, when it does return to whatever the new normal is.
Every single band, every single one is, this is not a problem of like, oh, we just had a couple bands have some bad luck. Like every single band is going through all this, and no one is growing touring wise right now while this is happening. So we all have to figure out what we can do to grow, on the other side, meaning the online side, the marketing side, without the touring.
Well, awesome. Thank you guys very, very much. This has been a pretty amazing conversation. So thank you. I greatly appreciate it. Derek from, Derek, you're from Sheltered Music Group. Sorry.
There you go. Yes.
Mike from 10th Street Management, Tim from Spinefarm, and Eddie from Undercover Marketing. Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys would be willing to do this again. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.